This week on Arizona Illustrated, TPD's effort to change police presence in downtown Tucson. Part 2 of our profile on Judith Chafee, Tucson native and prolific architect. And Tucson Mountain Park expands in size through a couple's love of nature. Welcome to Arizona Illustrated. I'm Tom McNamara. Under new leadership, the Tucson Police Department is actively engaged in an effort to build stronger bonds with the community it serves. We spent some time with the Squad 4 team in the downtown district as they made their rounds.
Here we have the T3 Motions. It's an electric vehicle, three-wheeled vehicle. It allows the officers to get in and out through traffic on the sidewalks. They're quiet.
She's ready to go.
Most of the officers are mountain bike certified. Dealing with people, you can stop and talk to somebody much easier than in a patrol car where you got to find a place to park it. And they're great tools for crowd control when they have marches and parades where we can follow alongside of them.
Sergeant Mickey Petersen is a patrol supervisor for the night squad. They are officers who serve in the downtown area, now known as the district.
A big part of what we're trying to do is show them we're out here and just have daily contact and interactions with the public. Get out there and talk to people and see what's going on, let them know what we're doing.
This effort to be more directly engaged with the community is just part of the department's new direction.
503.
The Tucson Police Department is one of 15 model agencies chosen to advance President Obama's 21st Century Policing Initiative. These jurisdictions are now receiving federal resources and support to develop and implement best practices that can then be shared and adopted by departments nationwide. The agencies were chosen in part for having already moved forward in new and innovative ways.
I've been here since 2 o'clock.
Have you really?
Oh my word.
Under a leaner budget, with planned attrition in the current ranks, new Police Chief Chris Magnus leads the effort to build stronger bonds with the community.
I think it's hard when you have that sense that you're never going to see the same police officer twice, you know. People want that to change. So I'm hearing that people have a high degree of confidence in our department, but they would like to have stronger relationships with a predictable group of officers who really are familiar with their neighborhood, the schools, the businesses, the nonprofits in their areas, and that's definitely the direction we're headed.
It's a show or what is it?
Oh, well, right here we're at the intersection of Congress, Toole, and 4th Avenue. They call it the Triangle. Everything kind of converges. It's the center point of the newly created district. So we're seeing a lot more investment down here, and with that investment, we're seeing a lot more people spending time down here, coming to the restaurants, the clubs, hanging out, spending money. It's just booming down here. This is Officer Lushbaugh and Officer Schrouder. These are Squad 4, part of the downtown district.
An important part of this team-oriented approach is making contact and being seen.
You have a great day, guys. Bye, guys.
We just started this at the beginning of April, end of March. So this approach itself, when we eliminated the downtown division, was really to get out here and have this high visibility team that we have, which became the downtown district.
I just want to know where to go.
We've seen a lot of trust within the public, and I know John shares that.
You want to make sure you're visible. You want to make sure you're out walking around. You're not just sitting in a car or off in a corner somewhere. You want to be out talking to people. When we talk to each other, we talk about police things. Obviously, we're still police officers. We have to perform a police function. Talk about who's doing what we've heard in the street. You know, there are problems.
There are 6 primary areas of focus in President Obama's policing initiative, known as pillars.
Twisted his arm in a hole.
The first of those is building trust and legitimacy. One way of building trust is by just being present.
Well, in an area like this, you get so much foot traffic, so many people moving around from other parts of town, from all over, from other countries, from other states. It's good to be visible and show the people we can talk to them, and that we're just ordinary people trying to do a difficult job, but we're there for them. That we listen to their little problems, like where to park, or bigger problems about somebody shoplifting or whatever it might be. They might not call 911 for that, but they'll tell us. You know, and the bigger things. We've caught people here who committed serious crimes just because somebody felt comfortable with us to come up and tell us. What you guys got going on tonight?
We are sponsoring the show tonight. Getting the word out about.
I agree with John that it's important that the public sees what we're doing, why we're doing it, and that we are out here trying to keep everybody safe, and that we're a team out here. Really, that's the idea behind community policing, is that we're working together, that the community is part of it. We're just one part of that.
Hi, because I work for the fire department in Las Vegas, so I always go out of my way to say.
We want them to get out there, know the business owners, know the employees in the businesses, and know the regulars down here. And that way they get an idea of what's normal, what's regular behavior, when something's out of the ordinary, when they need to take action.
One business that area locals patronize is a community market called Johnny Gibson's, a full-service grocery store complete with deli and grill. Paul Cizik is co-owner and general manager.
Well, as a business owner, we see them as an essential service, as an essential partner in us fulfilling our mandate, and our mandate is to serve.
Thank you. Have a good day.
We're here to be a blessing to this community, and the police seem to have that same mindset.
Yeah, I haven't seen them in a long time.
I do sense, though, because of the communications we've had, that they are taking a little bit different approach, perhaps, than they did in the past.
Turns out today was a good day to stop in.
The park over on 12?
Yeah. That gentleman's been in here many times. He's stolen from us on several occasions, has a problem with substance abuse, and he's been trespassed from here, but forgets or chooses not to adhere to that trespass. This is the second time in 2 days that I had to deal with someone, and the police were there that second. I don't know if that's what kismet or what, but that's why you want a police department that's boots on the ground and right there, not just cruising in a car. And they do it in a way that keeps a good feeling in the community. Firm, yet compassionate. And I really, really appreciate that, because we all have to live here downtown. The cool thing is, we seem to have the same heart for the people on that street.
As day turns to night, Officers Lushbaugh and Schrouder continue their rounds in the district, and in some ways set the tone.
Helping with the general mood in the night. If we walk around and they can see that we're happy and interacting, you hope that the vibe of the night just continues to be very positive for everybody.
There are people down here who have had problems with police officers, who just would walk past and yell at me or flip me off. But I've had the opportunity down here to actually stop them and talk with them. And once you talk for a while, all of a sudden they understand me and I understand them. So it's really about building the trust by just speaking with each other. And down here, at least we have the opportunity to do that.
Hey!
How's it going?
Say hi.
You there?
Yeah, how you doing, man?
Safe and secure.
All is well?
Yes. So you guys got a band tonight too?
Yeah, we got like a country band at 10. Bad thing about having one entrance.
Yeah.
The bands are always like, where do I load in? It's like,
Here.
you're looking at it.
Hey guys, hey Gio.
Hey, what's up, bro?
How you doing, man? Good to see you. Yeah, Thursdays, you guys are back on track for Thursdays, huh?
Yeah.
All right. See you. I just wanted to say hi and say I saw you on TV.
Yeah, he's always like a welcome face to see, because usually you associate cops like, oh man, something's wrong. But he always just is always chill, very calm. Just says, hey, if there's ever a problem, he's like always there to respond to it. I love it. It reminds me of like the old-timey, cop who's more interested in like getting to know the people rather than being the presence when he's called. Like he already knows the people he's going to go help. So.
All right, go ahead. Your average police officer out there in the streets doing the same thing we are. They just don't have the luxury of being able to come out and talk to people. We're lucky.
You guys enjoy your night, eh?
And so this form of policing continues in downtown Tucson. Cops on the beat, business owners, families, students, and those down on their luck sharing the same space, parts of the same community.
I've been surprised with the reaction that we get. It's what I hoped for in policing coming out here. You want to feel good about what you're doing at the end of the day. And I wanted to be proud about what I was doing, and if part of that is serving in a community, it's a great place to start.
In 1970, architect Judith Chafee left a successful career on the East Coast to come back to Tucson. Over the next 28 years, she would build some of Southern Arizona's most critically acclaimed modern homes, but struggled to gain acceptance in the local community. Chafee taught at the University of Arizona's College of Architecture for 25 years and left a lasting impact on the region. But there is still a lot to learn from her.
While Judith Chafee may not have received the welcome she expected back in Tucson, it didn't stop her from making a major impact on architecture in the region and building some of the most highly regarded buildings ever built in southern Arizona.
I walked in, just off the street. She said, "So where'd you go to school?" I said, "I went to Harvard Graduate School of Design." And she said, "Oh." And I started to take out my portfolio, and she said, "I don't want to see your portfolio. When do you want to start?" That was the end of the interview. And I said, "Can I please show you my portfolio?" She said, "No."
Corky Poster worked for Judith for a year, but remained close friends throughout her life. Chafee's first project in Tucson was this office, and she did most of the work by hand.
She purchased this fourplex of 4 buildings. The brilliant thing she did was tore off the roof of the 3rd one, which is where we are now. So what used to be a long, thin, not very well lit row house became a courtyard that provided light. It's just a brilliant idea.
She invested downtown in 1970 while parts of the old barrio were being demolished and others were flocking to the suburbs.
So in a way, it was a very activist thing to do, to purchase this property and say, I'm going to live here and I'm going to preserve this property.
Chafee would eventually sell this office to Poster for his own practice. And nearly 50 years after she bought the building, architecture is still being practiced inside it. Her next project was a home for her mother on Tucson's west side, the Viewpoint Residence.
There's something that she always did when she was designing a good room, and that was to bring light in from 2 different places. So you can see to the north, there's a series of clear stories that step up, and then to the south, there's a very sort of low line of windows that are protected by a concrete eyebrow that allows light to balance in the space.
It was her first building in Tucson, and it won a Record Home Award.
I could almost hear the voice in my head, and the voice said, whatever this lady does, you are going to love. This is the Ramada house.
Jane London is one of the last original owners of a Judith Chafee home.
Her attitude was, I want to build this house, and essentially the next people that walk in the door are going to get the Ramada house.
She pitched a few ideas, and we got to accept what looked least scary. Also, when we interviewed her, she didn't make disparaging remarks like, and now the little lady will be interested, we're going to talk about the kitchen. And that was a remark made to me by one of the other architects.
So Jane and her then husband hired Chafee and agreed to the conceptual project. The decision paid off. The Ramada, constructed of log poles, and the house below are truly unique.
It was a very tricky design problem because there's a house that sits below, and then there's an entirely independent Ramada that is structurally independent from the house.
For her to have designed this house on the 19 by 11 foot grid, where all the poles go through both stories of the house and above it, and make every pole enhance the space inside the house while holding up the Ramada, takes a huge amount of foresight, planning, math ability.
It's the best modern house in Tucson. I don't think there's even a close second.
The Ramada House was widely published, won an AIA Design Award, and would eventually be listed on the National Register of Historic Places. Despite the critical acclaim, Chafee struggled to get major commissions, but kept building residences.
She was very interesting, hard to describe.
Joan Jacobson and her late husband hired Chafee to build a small but significant home in the foothills.
My husband and I both had a lot of books, and we figured we might be getting more, which did happen. What are we looking at? The book steps, the bookcase. Also, the steps to a loft up above. You can sit any place on the book steps and just push away the glass, push aside the glass to get to the books. That's how it works. One of a kind.
The Jacobson home and its peculiar bookcase was also widely published and won yet another Record House Award.
This was on 40 acres.
Catherine McGuire and Bob Diaz of Special Collections are organizing Chafee's archives under the University of Arizona Library. Their research is part of an effort for an upcoming book on the architect. McGuire had Chafee as a teacher at the University of Arizona, then went on to work as an architect in her office for 18 years. This home in Sonoyta, the Heidemann residence, was in construction when she joined the office.
One of the deed restrictions was that houses could not see another house. So you had to really keep your buildings low.
Low, unobtrusive, and constructed of poured concrete, this home and its indoor greenhouse were energy efficient and had low impact on the surrounding environment.
It fit the function perfectly. And it's a great looking house still. This was built in 1980, 81.
This house, designed for the man who invented Benadryl, George Revachil, did not win any awards because it was never entered. It is stunning nonetheless.
Always getting the views in the right place.
Chafee always got the views just right, but she also paid obsessive attention to the tiniest details.
There's little things. How does the wall come down to the steps? There's this nice little reveal, so the wall just kind of floats above the step. It's keeping the experience inside, outside, all tied together, that it's a big story. And then you have the chapters in the book, and this would be when, coming out and going to the sun, see the sunset is a chapter in the book, but it's all one big story.
Judith continued to work on small projects and teach at the University of Arizona College of Architecture.
Architecture at the, until World War II was a white male profession, almost exclusively. Trying to make it not that was a lot of hard work. And Judith, without wearing her heart on her sleeve, was a pioneer in that.
What she really wanted to do from day one was a school building. We applied for a few university projects in joint competition and came in second on a couple of them, but never got them.
Despite all the acclaim and all the awards, the major public projects never materialized in Tucson.
In recent years, the only evidence of people using the house is the graffiti they've left behind.
In 1998, efforts to restore the Blackwell house had stalled, and the county again pushed to raise it. At that time, Judith had developed emphysema, and her health was deteriorating.
Understandably disappointed, Judith Chafee says the home's demolition reflects a lack of architectural appreciation.
When you want to take an architecture student or a child someplace in Tucson to show them, get their brains going about the subject, there just are not many places you can take them.
It's unfortunate with that thought in mind that structure ended up in that location.
Of course, that's the irony. If the Blackwell house were located somewhere else, it would not be designed the way it is, making such a singular and controversial statement.
Months after the Blackwell house was razed, Judith Chafee passed away. She was 65. 18 years later, her legacy remains, and it is still taking shape and new meaning today.
To watch the entire documentary, The Architect, Judith Chafee, visit the Arizona Illustrated page at azpm.org. Financial experts often suggest investing in land, the benefits of which can be quite lucrative in places like Arizona. While many are motivated by the potential economic returns, you're about to meet a Tucsonan who has chosen a very different path for her piece of desert paradise, and by doing so, leaving a legacy of land.
Plants are often peripheral elements in most people's surroundings, decorations that may seem pretty or interesting and merit only occasional attention.
This cell's dead, this one's dead. We got some absolutely guaranteed.
For University of Arizona professor Martha Haas, however, plants are spectacular biological wonders, breathtaking in their complexity and never-ending in opportunities for discovery. Martha Haas has been a plant pathologist since the 1980s. The profession tries to understand how plant diseases occur and how plants defend themselves. Valuable knowledge and efforts to produce healthier crops without resorting to using toxins.
I stutter when I talk about plant diseases, which is probably all you really need to know about my passion. I just feel that, you know, with the impact that we have on the planet, we need to do a better job of fostering healthy environment instead of just going in and bulldozing over and doing whatever we want to do.
Haas's late husband, Hans van Etten, who was also a plant pathologist, was equally passionate and concerned. The couple met during a professional conference in the 1980s. Coincidentally, both were involved in pea root research in their respective jobs, and this helped break the ice for a connection.
We met at a meeting in California and we went for a walk on the beach. He and I both were working on pea root diseases, so, you know, what could be more romantic than that? We were so much alike, and also all the other things that we didn't understand at first, but our love of the land and our love of trees.
They married in 1990, and after moving to Tucson and settling down, he began to look for a new piece of property where they could live. Not just a house, but also some land.
You know, I'm not that particular about where I live or what kind of shoes I wear, so I wasn't really that actively engaged in it, and he kept finding it. I go, okay, fine, this is what you want, that's fine. But then he found this place, and it's like, ooh, I'm getting chills on the back of my neck just remembering it. But when you see it, you'll understand, and so it's like, okay, let's do it.
This is the area that so inspired the couple almost 20 years ago. After purchasing their first lot, they bought some more.
It's 65.38 acres. Hans always said 65, being all modest, and I would correct him and say it's 65.3, honey. It's all wonderful. I mean, the big challenge is finding ways to navigate desert magic. Like I said, I've studied in excruciating detail how root systems of plants work my whole career, 30 years, and I still don't know how these guys do it. It's amazing. You wake up, it was such a wonderful validation that maybe life on Earth will continue. The first time I saw the rains come in Tucson, and 15 minutes later, everything was green.
From the beginning, the scientists made a pledge. In their will, they would donate their land southwest of downtown Tucson to Pima County's Tucson Mountain Park, which was established in 1929 and is adjacent to their property. No more houses on their 60-plus acres. Trees, hills, rocks, and their inhabitants will be safe.
They look so ferocious and grouchy, and then they make the most beautiful flowers.
The professors and nature lovers couldn't stand the thought of losing their native desert neighbors, the entertaining and appealing Sonoran creatures, or those rare sightings that amazed them.
It turns out he's an albino red-tailed hawk, which I'd never seen, but they exist.
The land will join the nearly 20,000 acres of the park and become part of a broader protected habitat which includes Saguaro National Park to the north. Experts say contiguous protected areas such as these are vital for wild animals and plants.
So it's in the shade here under this wolfberry and jojoba.
Petersen is a professor of ecology at the University of Arizona. He's also the president of the Tucson Mountains Association, which is grateful for the gift.
I think that is the most incredible legacy that they could possibly have, really. That they've saved a piece of the planet, the life on that. Not thinking about themselves, thinking about, in fact, the other organisms on the planet, which are really part of humanity in many ways, because it's our experience. We're organisms too.
Nicole Fife works for Pima County, which owns Tucson Mountain Park. The county is acquiring additional parcels to increase its size, such as this 270-acre property adjacent to Martha Haas's land.
We're well aware that Ms. Haas could have chosen to do something else with the property, and her family could have developed the property or sold it to somebody else, and we really appreciate that she thought of the county and contacted our Parks Department and went forward with this.
For Haas, this continues and reinforces a passion that began decades ago. She grew up on a 1,000-acre farm in Kentucky where she cherished the plants, animals, and land. In fact, while she was still very young, she was already captivated by the environment.
The simple way to explain is when I was a child, I would have screaming nightmares like children do. But in my case, it wasn't because the monsters were coming or the goblins or the monsters under the bed. It was because I dreamed that I woke up and looked out front and they were paving the front field. It's just emotional. I'm sure they have medications, to deal with that now, but I haven't checked lately.
Hans van Etten also grew up on a farm and became similarly enthusiastic about nature and donating their bit of paradise.
We definitely both had wanted to do it, and I wish he could be here. That's the biggest thing I would say, is that, because first of all, he would have done all the talking and I could have just, but no, I'm very, very happy, because it's like I said, he was one of the special ones for sure, and he really cared about this place.
Thank you for joining us here on Arizona Illustrated. Next week, a look back into personal histories, the musical journey of Brian Lopez, rare plants of southern Arizona, and the De Grazia Gallery in the sun. I'm Tom McNamara. See you next week.